What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Meet the Critters podcast. I am Kyle.
And I'm Joe.
And something's happening. There's something in the water everywhere. And I just think the Lords above don't want us to have a consistent podcast with guests. So I apologize for being late. We were trying to figure out, Joe couldn't hear me on his phone. So we tried logging back into the computer. But every time we do a podcast from his computer,
it's lag.
A second lag between us, so we can't actually have a conversation. So we had to redo everything, got it all set up. We're here. We're doing it, but I'm sure everyone saw Brian Aleksivitch is supposed to be here. They had a massive thunderstorm, and lightning possibly took out his laptop and Starlink. And that was about 10 minutes ago. So,
yeah, craziness.
Yeah. So it just sounds like, seeing as we did no planning for any of this at all, because this was already a Backwoods episode where it was going to be utter nonsense with not a lot of topics anyway. I guess we just get into it.
I think next week, Kyle, we're gonna have to do a full podcast and just smoke signals.
Yes,
with no technology.
We'll burn sage. Yeah, we'll burn a lot of sage. There's a chicken that's figured out how to escape the coop now. I'll sacrifice that. We'll really just appease the gods.
I got 6 pigs out in the holding pens. I'll sacrifice those too.
Yeah. Farm with Eden Aaron, our friend Brian Aleksivitch, who was supposed to be on the show tonight, he got power surge or something, or lightning strike, and it kind of took out all of his stuff. So we're thoughts and prayers, and we're hoping that is not the case for sure.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. That's going to be chaos for him to get stuff back up and running for Monday's show.
Mm-hmm. But yeah. But speaking of back up and running, I am no longer the sad, whiny wuss that I have been for the past month on here, that we've actually done podcasts. The grinder is fixed. It is operational and running. And I also have bellies. I got to spend most of the day in the shop on Friday instead of being in the house and doing whatever. And it was like, my wife's like, "You're so happy." I was like, "Yeah, I'm not inside."
Yeah, that's this week's been chaos too, just getting back up and running for us. So
oh yeah,
I'm right there with you.
But yeah, so I still need to play around with the converter a little bit. And again, it's when you have friends do work for you, it's always kind of tough, especially when they don't want to be charged for it, because it's like, I need this now. And Emmett, I know you don't watch this, but Emmett, if you do, I fucking love you, and I'm not giving you any shit. But it was wrestling him over here to get it done was a couple days, and he's got a life and a family and everything too. So it's like, I get it, but I'm also dying. And we got it all hooked up, finally got power to it, and we were like, we did it. Awesome. Everything's running right, multimeter's reading right, push on the foot pedal. It's like, oh yeah, we have to reprogram this whole thing. And we're looking at this both of us are trying to look at this tiny booklet that has all the codes and everything in it. And we're trying to read it. It looks like freaking, what is it? God damn it. Why? Zoolander, when they're trying to get the files in the computer, and they're just like, pushing buttons, just trying to figure it out. Definitely not. We definitely weren't saying some probably slightly racial things about the country it came from while we were doing it. But yeah, we got it fixed. I still think I need to play with it a little more, because do you have 3-phase to the shop, or are you running converters?
No, it's all single phase equipment.
Oh yeah. So it has a dial on it that it controls how much actual 3-phase power is going into it. And right now it's the highest it goes is 50, which I don't even know what that's a metric of. I don't know what 50 stands for, but I know if you lower it, the grinder slows and stuff like that. So it's pinned at 50 at the moment with something we programmed. Yeah. And it's a spinning. It's like, I'm looking at it and I'm like, that's too fast. that is going to burn something out, I feel like. But then also I'm thinking about what you said, where it's three-phase converters, they're not getting the full power of a full three-phase thing to it. So I'm also starting to think that might be my problem, or had been my problem, is my grinder wasn't spinning fast enough.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna leave it at that and play around with it as it needs to be. But
yeah,
pulling the first 300 pounds of trim tomorrow to slack out and get ready to grind on Tuesday. So I'm like, oh, we're getting there.
Yeah, no, I definitely get it. So it's frustrating, but it's nice that you got your grinder back up and running.
Yeah. And I was explaining it to someone, and first they're like, why don't you just buy a new grinder? I'm like, well, I'm broke. So then that's a $25,000 grinder. So that's not going to happen. Like, and I'm not going to spend a couple $1,000s on a smaller grinder that will do the job. It will take way longer.
Yeah.
Only to just the parts ordered. It just needs to get here, like on the off end. And again, my thought on that too was, if we had to do it, it wouldn't be like a total, like, this is awful sacrifice, because then I can use that for deer season. And when I'm only doing one deer at a time, it would be a lot nicer than dirtying the entire 250-pound capacity. But I was explaining it to him, and I'm like, the hard part about this is yes, I wasn't able to be in the shop for a month, which sucks. There's no money coming in and stuff like that. But I only had to move one customer with 2 animals. So I was like, all right, that's not awful. But what it did was it put me behind by like 2 months, because I still have feeders that needed to go through, which means they're not out to renovate their pen, which means that the boar can't move, which means the piglets can't really move yet, like before we get everything situated. And it's like, that just screwed me more, because now we're getting into the heat of the summer where all this fencing is going to get real fun. But that's
just reading through the comments, trying to get caught back up.
Oh, yeah. 50. It's 50. Need to do
See, Linda's in here, Canadian. My brother Logan hopped in.
Good to have you, Logan.
It went all right. Had to work out all the kinks of new equipment and new facility and stuff, but they all made it in the cooler. That's all that matters.
How many did you do this week?
21 animals.
Nice.
In a day, in about a day and a half.
Ooh. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I do miss those days, though, just running and gunning.
It's one thing to do that many. That's the largest slaughter I've done in my career at once.
Right.
But then to do it into a brand new facility while you're trying to work out all the kinks and trying to figure out how it's going to work and what's going to work. And
I don't know.
I could have lowered my rail for sure.
Oh, the first hiccup found.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, it's nice for very large beef, but I have a beef that's hanging at 800 something pounds in there, and I've got 3 regular 6-inch hooks stacked together. That's how high my rail is. Dead serious.
That's fantastic.
Because the way the hoist is set up, that hoist isn't made for what I'm doing with it. Right. So there's too much headroom. And I don't have the right gambrel for in here yet. I got to wait for that to come in. Mm-hmm. So it was just, and then the safety switches on that hoist kept tripping when I got the first beef I did. I got it about a quarter of the way off the skinning cradle. Mm-hmm. Everything locked up. So now I'm up there with a pry bar trying to get the safety switches and stuff to
I'm feeling
unlock.
Anxiety just you saying it out loud.
Yeah. It was a lot, but I figured it out. I disabled some OSHA approved conveniences.
Hypothetically, that's how that happened.
No, I made it work. I figured out. I made it work. I used every single hook I have to do that many animals. Every single one. down to the last tee.
Well, that's because you're hanging half a side with six hooks.
Yeah, I got a call. So I started ordering hooks, and I ordered all my hangers and stuff from. It's called the Hook Shop out in Missouri.
Yeah.
Super awesome people to deal with. Actually, fairly inexpensive too. They do custom. They'll do customized stuff. So I'm actually going to call them this week and see if they can customize me some 36-inch and 48-inch hooks on trolleys.
Yeah, because at the end, that's cheaper than redoing the rail system.
Well, and it's cheaper than buying more 2-foot hooks, which I'll probably get some 2-footers for the beef. But then I'm doubling them up. So in all reality, if they can do a 4-foot hook versus 2-foot hooks for less money and save me on the trolleys, I'll be better off.
Right. That's going to look hilarious. You walking around. I'll have to bring out one of my 2-foot hooks when you have your 4-foot hook and film a TikTok where it's just like when they have the little people throwing the javelins and then a toothpick hit somebody else. It's like,
yeah, have you holding your normal 2-foot? Well, I've got 2-foot ones here.
Yeah.
Because I ordered brand new ones for dropping the pigs down on, but even those, the 4-H pigs are a little bit smaller weight wise because they have a weight limit they have to hit. So I have a 2-foot hook and a 6-inch hook stacked together to get the hogs down so I can reach them to push them around on the rail.
That's fantastic.
But I got plenty of space to the floor. That's all that mattered.
That is all that matters. No, and exactly. And Aaron had one in here. Eventually a 1,700-pound Holstein steer will come in and you'll appreciate that head height.
Exactly.
Sure.
People don't realize even a 1,500-pound Holstein steer versus a 1,500-pound beef bred animal, the legs are a lot longer on those dairy animals. So that extends the height, even though they're the same weight. You might gain a whole another 8-12 inches on that carcass just from the legs being longer.
Most of those, when I worked at the USDA facility, even they would quarter them. They would quarter those to put them in because you just couldn't do anything. Dragging necks on the ground and stuff. I mean, this was a full, I don't know, it had to have been 16-foot, rail system. And even still, we'd be dragging. Yeah. And it's like, what? You don't think about it until all of a sudden you're like, damn. But even then, just maneuverability of breaking that animal down. You want that in quarters. You don't want that in halves. On the very end of it, because you're working with so much product.
That's another thing I'm messing with right now is trying to figure out the best way to get stuff off the rail. The beef won't be so bad because they're already on their own hooks on the halves, but the pigs, because I have them one set of hooks running into a spreader.
Right.
And then when I split the pigs, I leave roughly 6 inches of the fat cap on the shoulders connected so it doesn't teeter while it's in there.
Ooh, you're fancy.
And so it works great for storage, but getting them out, I had to play around with some stuff. I got it figured out. It just took me a little, like anything new, you got to get a system built that's going to work for you. I have a 2,000-pound cable winch mounted to the wall right now, going up above the rail that I've been lowering stuff down. That's working okay.
Oh, that's good.
But I've got to get a rail pike for setting hooks up on the rail and all that yet. So
yeah, but it's like even if you have the best facility in the world and you've done everything perfect, you still have to get used to it.
Yeah. Yep.
It could be the best rail system money could buy, but guess what? If you've never run it, even if and I've had this, even if it's so much better that you have to get used to the fact that you don't have to do the things you had to do on a shitty system. You have to unlearn the hacks that you had to do because you didn't have the right thing. And now that you have the right thing, you're going to break it because you're used to using something wrong.
And that's what I had to get used to last week is now that I'm not using the reefer trailer and the skid steer for the whole process, which is amazing that I'm not in and out of that skid steer 300 times to get an animal in the reefer trailer from start to finish. Right. But at the same time, you know, that I got so used to that over the last few months. So yeah, everybody listen to Rachel. Go hit the like button.
Yeah, dang it. All 8 of you. But still, we have 8 people in here. It's still amazing to me that there are people that set aside their time to listen to our nonsense.
We appreciate you guys. That's all that matters to us.
We really do. Oh, I had this. I don't think I said anything about it in the group. I know I made a TikTok about it. I had an emergency. I will call it an emergency slaughter this week. It was more like putting an animal down, which isn't great. I got a call from somebody, and I was running around with the kids. My wife was on her way home. It was like 1-ish. My wife ran out. So I had the girls, and they called and like, "Hi, we have a pig with a hernia that it's gotten pretty big, and we just want to put it we want to get what we can off of it." I'm like, "All right, that's fine." I'm like, "But I can't take it for another hour and a half." And they were like, "That should be fine. Like, we'll bring it right over." And I was like, "All right, that's fine." And they got it here. I was prepping in the shop. It was just going to be a roaster. They told me it was a smaller pig. And I'm like, all right, that's fine. And they get it here. And I look and there's no trailer. And I look and there's just like one of the beige dog crates, like solid sided dog crates. And I'm like, this isn't going to be great. And I got in there, and I'm not going to give too many details of this. Again, I don't think these people, they're not bad people. It's just a bad situation. They did not believe the person that had bought it that it was an abscess or that it was a hernia. They thought it was just an abscess. So they sliced it. Yeah. So this thing looked like it was in just a fight scene from The Boys. Just everything's hanging out everywhere. That wasn't relayed to me on the phone correctly. So, because in that case, I would have just said, pop it and be done with it. So we get it done, get it over to the shop, and they're like, yeah, so we're just going to keep it as a whole roaster. And I'm like, okay. But I'm like, as I was talking to him about it, it was still alive when it got here. So technically it would have been perfectly fine for human consumption. But I'm like, coming from a business, I'm like, I don't want to tell these people this is good to eat when I'm looking at its small intestine. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I wouldn't put this near my family. That's just me saying it. And I'm the guy you hired to do it. So use that information. And they've been they've been raising pigs for 70 years or whatever. And, it's just a shitty situation. And I'm like, I looked at them as I was scanning it out. I'm like, it doesn't look bad, but they had a neighbor that does raw feed for their dogs. I looked at him, I'm like, because we were chatting about it because he wanted to see the process and everything. I'm like, all right, fine, because this definitely isn't going in my cooler. So you're definitely staying until this is done. And I essentially was just like, listen, this is a loss. It's a loss in the fact that you don't have an animal that's going to get to full slaughter weight. So accept what you have here. Don't worry about feeding your family with this. If you have, because he mentioned the person that feeds raw, I was like, listen, if you have a person that you can gain a better connection with because you did something, you did a kind gesture for them, even though it kind of sucks for you, do that. Mm-hmm. That's the better way to handle this situation instead of possibly eating something that's not going to be could make you sick. And they're like, oh yeah. I'm like, or whatever. I ended up throwing it, got it all scun out and everything, kept it whole, threw it in a contractor bag. And I was like, pay me and we're done. But then they're like, oh, well, when we want to do real whole roasters, how much are you going to charge? And I'm like, well, a whole roaster has skin on. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, I've already told you 3 times I don't do that. And I think it put a bad taste in their mouth of me. But also I'm like, I don't want that customer. I don't need that. And I was talking to my wife about it because it kind of screwed me up for a couple hours. And again, I put it in the TikTok that I'm like, I do this for a living. I still have a soul. Like I still feel when there are tough ones, but on a daily basis of doing it, I'm usually pretty good about it because, hey, guess what? I can't do my job without doing this first.
Yep.
What it is. But when it's a 12-week-old piglet in bad circumstances, it hits you different. And it's like, that's not fun. But 'tis what it is.
That you get those ones regardless, you get those odd calls like that. And of course they're not going to tell you the full story because they
screwed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like I was talking to my wife about it, and I was like, from a butcher perspective, I don't understand the audacity of just being like, fix this problem. I was like, that's not a problem that gets fixed. Like you like I don't even know. But then from like a farming perspective, I can look at it and go, kind of like what I said to him. I'm like, it's a loss. It's gonna be a loss.
Yeah.
At that point, you need to think of the animal. That animal sat there with its small intestine hanging out of it for an hour and a half. I don't care if I spent $10,000 on that pig at 12 weeks old and it had to sit there for an hour and a half with its intestines out. That would have, the second that I realized that this was it, I would have done it. And I would have done, if I didn't have any butchering experience, guess what? YouTube is on your phone. You can hop on there and do a hack job because guess what? It's a loss. Like, don't go for the money grab on something when you're already in cuffs. Like, I don't know. Just buy Nair in bulk. I don't think that's going to work. And I've never scalded a pig personally.
Me either.
And I'm like, I have zero interest. I have zero, like the only time I would ever do it if it was for a personal barbecue that I was doing.
Yeah.
And then just to do it.
I want to do it, but at the same time, as soon as I have the equipment, I'm kind of like in that mindset you are if you buy processing equipment for poultry. If I have it here, I'm going to do it because I already have the equipment and might as well utilize it.
Right.
And but I get that question frequently about roaster pigs, and I tell them all the time, I'll do roaster sized pigs, no problem, but they're going to be skinned, not scalded.
Right. Yeah, scalding and scraping sucks. Again, I've never done it. I want to do it because again, this is what I do for what we do for a living. I want to do everything that you can in this field to try it. But I'm like, I almost want to do it just to cement that I never want to do this. Like
most people up here, there is no places around us that scald. So all the roaster pigs up here, unless somebody does it themselves, they're skinned out. It's not
the thing up here. Like, it's not. You go down south or the Midwest, all of them are scalded.
Yep.
Good luck finding one that's gone out. So
it's just, the way it is.
It's a weird one.
But with us trying to go USDA, I'd have to spend a lot of money on a approved scalding system.
Of course.
And it's just not. That's a whole separate day of scalding roaster pigs, and I'm just not interested in doing that right now.
No.
Maybe ever. So.
No. That is a bit of a segue into where my brain's been the past couple of days. I've been like running around doing stuff, and I've been looking more into. I'm sure you've heard about like the Chevron case with the fishermen, and how all of a sudden when the judge was like, actually, this government institution isn't allowed to make rules like this. It all of a sudden opened the floodgates to all of the alphabet soup agencies of just like, oh God. And it's like, I pray to God somebody puts all the money and everything into really looking into the USDA and being like, what are we doing with this? Because all we're doing is shooting everybody in the foot. Like, I pray it happens.
It would be sweet, like we talked before when we were talking about the whole thing, so we could be up and running and selling without the USDA stamps.
Right.
That would be super ideal. for what we're doing, like I don't plan on selling across state lines. Like I want to stay as local as possible. So that would be the perfect situation.
Right. But it just gets interesting. My sister called me today. She just moved to Philly. So she's like doing some exploring around and finding things. And she was looking at a couple farmers markets and went to one. And she called me and she's like, "You'll be proud of me. I bought meat from a farmer's market." I'm like, "Good for you." And she just goes, "So," because she asked a genuine question. She's like, "So what would it take for you to like go to a farmer's market?" And I was like, "I would have to spend the money to send all of my animals to a USDA facility." And she's like, "Yeah, but they do all this stuff there that like to be able to sell it, right?" And I was like, "No. They have a dude that's they have a dude that's probably underpaid that they have
Yep.
to completely overpay the US government to have there to go, yeah, that's clean cow. Okay.
Yeah. No
Nope.
different than what we're already doing. Just to tell
Absolutely
us,
zero difference.
literally, it's just to have a government employee be like, "Yep, looks good."
Yeah.
That's never skinned a cow in their life, probably.
Right. And the look on her face was just like, what? And I'm like, yeah, like I can't justify sending my animals out to do what I'm already doing, and I'd do it better. Like I may not do it like better, but I'm like, I do it better because it's how I want my animals processed.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't it still just baffles my brain every time I have to explain it and have to live it on a daily basis. So what do we got down here? Aaron, yes, I do agree with this. FYI, on the poultry end, waterfowl picking and plucking cannot beat the wax job ever. I hate ducks in general. I hate them.
Same.
I put a post up on TikTok today that's gone a little viral today about that. But it's just like, they just suck. I hate them. And Aaron's in the comments going, "Ducks are the greatest thing on the planet." You're wrong, sir. You're wrong. I hate them.
I don't mind ducks as a living creature. Besides crapping all over the place and being stupid, like they're not bad.
So you mean ducks?
Chickens are the same way though. They crap all over the place and they're just as dumb.
I know.
I still got my batch of meat birds I have not processed yet, and they're massive.
Oh God!
Because I haven't had time, like to do any of my own stuff. I have not had time. So, yeah.
Well, I'm in the same boat. My piglets still have nuts, so that's only going to get harder.
I still have one of my piglets from this year that was supposed to be spoken for. Yep, she's still in the barn. She's a nice looking. I'm very pleased by those piglets, but there's some stuff that's transpiring that it's not 100% yet.
Right.
But hopefully it works out because it's going to be a game changer for me personally. It's going to take a lot of weight off my shoulders with the farm and everything. But I almost considered selling all my breeding stock and just getting out of pigs completely. I'm not raising feeders at the moment because I don't have the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm selling piglets, and I can sell piglets all day long at the right time of the year. But now I'm at the limbo stage where my boar needs to come home. I got to get a hold of that guy because we were talking about bringing him the week that my grandfather passed away.
Right.
So it's kind of just been pushed off, and I need to get a hold of him because he's housed him long enough. He's done his job there. He needs to get him out of the pen, and I understand that. And I'm ready for him to come back. It's just I have to get it lined up with him. But now I'm feeding. Luckily, I got rid of the other sows, but I'm feeding the two sows, the boar, and that feeder-sized piglet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to make any profit off those pigs until maybe next March, April.
Yeah. It's tough.
So
it sucks. It goes back to like when people go, "Why do you even do it?" And it's like, there's just something about it.
Yep. And then
we're gonna go.
I haven't posted anything on TikTok or Facebook about it yet, but my electric netting failed. There's too many breaks in it, and I lost one of my baby goats in the netting. So I locked the goats away from the netting fence. I'm tearing that all down and getting rid of it. It's not even worth fixing. I was looking at it earlier, and I'm just gonna have to spend the money on new.
Right.
So I lost a really nice doeling to that, and then one of my mother goats, I've had issues with her since I got her with parasites and hoofs, and I ended up just losing her yesterday. Yeah. So, the lovely things in farming that kind of go untold well, it's not that I don't want to talk about it. I just haven't had time to make the TikTok about it or the YouTube video. And I haven't even done a farm update on YouTube in months.
I'm the same boat.
But now I did get an SD card for my phone. So nice. I have way more storage so I can get back into it.
Good.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, it's that's the hard thing where it's I need to get the piglets out because I need to make it easier. I need to make it easier to separate them, to sell them, and get them away from the moms and start getting the moms weaned. Because it's I'm also looking at Fiona. I try to keep her off camera as much as possible because she's thin. She had 10 piglets as a gilt, and they're sucking the life out of her. And it's she's still in good spirits. She's still running around doing everything. But I'm damn, mama. I need to get you fed by yourself for a while before we can even do anything. And it's I feel bad on that point. I'm I don't want that.
Pigs are amazing like that though. My one gilt that I didn't think was bred, she ended up being bred. She got thin, and the piglets are only on her for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I took them off, but
they bounce back.
Yeah, they bounce back so fast, when they're on the proper diet and the piglets are off of them. So
yeah. And it's
I wouldn't be
the new paddock I'm putting them in, as soon as I get it built. That's one of the next steps is to get the auxiliary paddock done. Has freaking grass in it that's this high that they can run through and get everything through because General can't eat it.
Yeah.
He's got no freaking teeth. But get them on some nice fresh green grass and just get them fed and just get them relaxing again because Tally's starting to toss them. That's she's just I'm done. All of a sudden,
that's how I could tell my sows are done with their litters because I had them in the barn because it was early in the year. And when they started grabbing them and throwing them, I'm I don't need injured piglets. She's fed up with them. They're eating solids. Time to pull them out.
Yeah. Canadian Farm said that's great for the piglets. Go. Absolutely. I mean, they're freaking, all those piglets are studs. I am so happy with this litter. And it's even the ones that I'm not going to say I'm not happy with them. They're just a little bit smaller. The one I'm going to be selfish and I'm keeping the big ones because I want to see how this line works. I want to see how these come out because it's you can definitely tell Tally's litter got a lot more of Red's production genetics. You can tell that they definitely have a little more Duroc and Yorkshire in them, whereas Fiona's, hers definitely look a little more Mangalitsa Ospa. So it's I'm interested to see. I'm keeping Toby because I have to keep Toby because TikTok demands it. So we're keeping Toby, and then we're keeping the other 4 of Fiona's chunkers. So and then I've got a good chunk of the rest of the piglets sold, and I know as soon as I post the rest of them, they'll be gone. So want to get them out before August, but we're almost there. So
that gilt that I have left, I'm looking at her she's too nice to process her for myself. So, but my boar is her father, so I really don't want to breed her back. Plus, he's way too big to breed a gilt. I mean, he's got to be 700 pounds at this point.
Right.
He's massive. I can't wait to see him. It's been a couple months since this guy's had him. I haven't been able to see him. And, he's my, kind of like you and Red. He's
he's your buddy.
Gigantic dog, pretty much. But at the same time, the struggles of keeping him away from the sows until I want him bred is going to be my next big
struggle
feat. Yeah. I think I'm gonna keep them in the barn.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure, was it realistically, I only need to keep him in the barn for a couple weeks because he needs going at the sows in September, like the first or second week, depending on when they're cycling. Because I'm aiming for that beginning of January piglets.
Yeah.
So he's not going to be locked up that long before he goes right out with the sows anyway.
Right.
So.
Yeah, there's something about boars. I love them. They're like, if they're sweet, which again, boars look like the most terrifying thing on the planet because they kind of are.
But we've got lucky with our boars. I've been around boars that were complete monsters, and they will make your life, a nightmare. Just tearing fences down, attacking the other pigs, attacking you every time you want to do something. And when you get 700 pounds of muscle coming at you and there's nowhere for you to go, it's not the best place to be when you're doing pasture raising. Even in a confinement barn, like, you better hope you can get over the pens and stuff.
Right. Well, it's like, because I was talking to somebody about it the other day. I've started doing daily thirst traps with Red. I just make fun of all of the hoes on TikTok that like have all these thirst traps and put like this goofy music behind it. So I've started doing them every day with Red. They've started taking off and they're super fun. But I always have an escape. Like, my back is never against a wall. Because it's like, if anyone's seeing these videos, he comes up to a point his nose is almost touching the phone. And sometimes he's at a good clip. And again, he's every bit of 600 pounds running down a hill with tusks. Mm-hmm. And it's like, he's a sweetheart and I love him. And I don't think he would ever do anything to, like, on purpose hurt me. But he's also a 600-pound pig that's like, oh, hi, Dad. Do you have snacks?
Yeah. And it's the same thing with beef or rams or billy goats. You raise them up and they're nice, but you get something with horns or just something goes into heat and that's what they're like any male species, that female goes into heat. That's their main focus. They don't care where you're at or if you're in the way, if you're in between him and her, or some are food motivated. So that's another thing. I need to get on the phone with the guy that has that bull so we can get that situation figured out. So I'm not calving at the end of summer next year. Because that's going to really throw off. It's going to take 2 or 3 years to fix that if I don't get on it here pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah, Canadian Farm said, all it takes is him to give you a nudge in the wrong part of the face. Yeah. And but again, that's how such of a sweet pig is. I need to do a TikTok on it because I was looking at videos and I'm like, does he only have one cutter? Like, so for those who don't know, pigs who are, does your pig have tusks or is it just, yeah.
No, yeah, he has them.
Most production breed boars will have tusks, but a lot of like the Mangalitsa Osbos, they will have tusks, like just because they're essentially wild boars anyway. Mm-hmm. So I have Senior Skull and his cutters are perfect and they were super long. And I was looking at videos of Red while he was opening his mouth. I'm like, does he only have one cutter? Like, I kept seeing it and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Like, and it's, again, 600-pound pig, you're trying to look in his mouth while he's eating. It's not exactly great. So I went out there middle of the day the other day when he's not expecting food. He's just expecting his random TikTok video that happens in the middle of the day. So I'm up there rubbing on him, and he just is standing right next to me. I'm rubbing on his head, and I'm like, I'm going to try this. I was able to pick up his whole lip on both sides, and I looked, and he has broken off one of the cutter, the top of the cutter on this side, and part of the cutter on the opposite side too, right? Like right at the tippy top. I'm like, what are you even doing? Like, and I didn't even think about it. Like, I can't remember back to when I got him if he had those fully anyway. So I'm like, was this before? Because it's like the pen he was in before was the electric wasn't always great, and it was just like hog panels. And it's like, was he chewing on something? Like, there's nothing in here for him to chew on that's going to break his teeth. Like, so I don't know. It is what it is. Doesn't seem to bother him at all. Doesn't hurt him. They're growing back.
No, a lot of people actually take that razor wire and cut them off.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, he's eating fine and everything. It
he's
sounds like he's doing all right.
He's eating everything. He's eating everything to the point where I'm like, might need to calm you down a little bit. We're already down to like, I think maybe 2 scoops, possibly less for him a day. Just because, like, again, I'm taking videos of him every day and editing them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, you're looking a bit chunky. Because I also don't want a repeat of Senor and get him too heavy. And
yep. Well, the one guy, he said that he only feeds his boars 3 pounds of feed a day. That's like one good size of my 3-quart feed scoops of the pig feed that I use. That's it.
Which I believe, like, I think that's what I need to go to. Like, especially once he moves into this back paddock where he doesn't have 3 acres to run around.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's the big thing about rebuilding that is it's like the fencing right now in there is such dog shit that it's like he would just go, yeah, I'm just going to walk through this. It's cute. You tried that, but what are you doing? So it's like trying to get that rebuilt and figured out. Again, would he try to push through? Probably not. Could he very easily? Absolutely.
Oh, we got a question. You want to take the first go at it, or you want me to?
What are your guys' thoughts on breeding pigs artificially? I've never done it. And where financially it's not as fun to have a boar around, I think, again, we've just sat here and talked about for the past 15 minutes how much we love our boars. Yeah. So it's one of those things, it's like, it really does just turn into a dog that you just have. And it just kind of is what it is. Again, I've never done it artificially. I want your opinion on it, Joe, and then I'll tell a fun story about this.
Yeah. So I haven't tried artificial myself either, mostly because to do artificial, you have to be with your pigs. You have to spend a lot of time with your pigs every day to catch and get them on a cycle. I don't have that kind of time right now. Right. Like the most I do with my pigs, I scratch them down, they get their dinner, make sure they're water, and make sure they're where they're supposed to be. Like I'm pretty hands off.
That's your favorite ones. The auxiliary ones aren't getting all the pets and scratches.
Yeah. So you have to be able to be in there. You have to track heat cycles. You have to be around that pig every day and know exactly how it's acting on a daily basis so you can get those cycles down. From what I have been told and research and stuff, once you're able to do that, in the first couple times after you get them to take with it, it's cost effective and it's nice because you can pick and choose your genetics. Say you got 2 sows, you don't have to breed to that one boar that you have on your place. It's not worth having 2 boars for under so many sows, realistically, unless you've got different age groups like I'm coming into. I'm considering getting a second boar if I end up keeping the gilt that I have. So I'm going to need a smaller boar. I can't breed her to a 700-pound boar. Or she's in the barn. Maybe when she gets to that age, I try AIing on her. I don't know. I might. But it's just it's very time sensitive. You have to hit it just right for that order to come in. You have to get the heat cycles in your ordering to line up perfectly because you only have so many hours to use that semen up before it goes bad, before it goes sterile, being unthawed from the nitrogen. So there's a lot of, unless you get your own nitrogen tank, but at that point you realistically need multiple sows that you're breeding year round to maintain something like that. Right. So it's just whatever works best for you. Kyle and I have great luck with our boars. We have good success with our boars. The only thing I don't like about the boar is I don't know exactly when those sows have been bred. So he may not got them on the first heat cycle or second heat cycle, which happened to me this year. And I need to get on a steadier schedule, especially when I want to do the 4-H animals. I have a very short window when those piglets can be born to make them available to the 4-H kids.
And that goes back to not having the time the time to watch your, like, where I have my paddock set up. You obviously can't see it now because it's dark outside. I can look right out this window and I can see the front paddock and all the way in the back paddock. So I can see the pigs all the time. And when he's in there with them and I'm trying to make sure that I try to do my best before I put him in to gauge their heat cycles and like try to make sure we're getting into the right spot. But it's like when he's in there with them, especially when I know they're coming into heat, I look like that show pig girl who's just sitting there staring at the judges, like walking around like the paddock. Because every time I walk past this window, I'm like, is he mounting? Because I need to write it down. And this year I nailed it. I think it was the day. Like the day I had written down was the day the piglets were born. And it's like, no shit, that actually worked. So it's, yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. It just doesn't make sense for us.
Mm-hmm.
So I will tell a fun story about this. We'll end on this story because this is a doozy. So me and my wife weren't even married yet. We were engaged, and we lived in a tiny 1/3 of an acre plot of land cottage in the southern part of the state. And we had a bunch of chickens and rabbits and all this stuff and this tiny little property. And I know we've talked about it before, but there was a podcast about 10 years ago or almost 10 years ago called the Chicken Thistle Farm Coopcast.
Yep.
It was a great little podcast about a husband and wife that were raising meat birds, meat turkeys, and meat pigs. And they were just explaining their journey. Like they were trying to figure it all out. And they had a podcast and they explained it all. And it was great. And I knew I wanted to get into it. So I was listening to this podcast. And we were home one night. It was late. And we might have had some herbal supplements in heavy doses because we had no kids and we were fun. And I just had a random thought of the podcast I had listened to during the day, which they were talking about artificially inseminating their pigs. And the way they did it is they had, because for those who don't know, also, when you do for artificially inseminate pigs, you still have to simulate the boar on their back to put them in standing heat. For those who don't know what standing heat is, literally when a pig's in heat, if you walk up and you lean right on their lower back, they will completely lock up. Even after you walk away for a minute or so, they'll still be locked up and can't move. It's literally just Mother Nature being like, well, we're getting this done. Like Mother Nature is your wingman in that situation of just guess I'm not going anywhere. So they used gun weights for a lead sled on the back and did whatever. And they were joking about the applicators and things that they could buy and had to use and things like that, because the corkscrew and all the fun stuff and everything that goes along with it. I thought it was funny. What my wife heard was that her hillbilly fiance wants to have sexual relations with pigs. And it literally, that conversation still comes up. That came up a week ago. Legitimately, it came up a week ago with other people, because she has to tell this story to everyone of just my husband wanted to fuck pigs. It's no, I didn't. No, I didn't. I was explaining an agricultural process, and we were stoned out of our minds, and you immediately went to that, and it's been glued into your brain ever since. Obviously now we've calmed down from it and we're married, but after the fact we talked about it, she's like, I was rethinking the marriage after this fight. And I was like, I don't understand. So there's also a pretty big taboo about artificially inseminating in our house. And I don't think it'll ever happen just because of that. Just because of that, it will never happen.
Oh.
So it's never a dull moment. It's really not.
I can just see her freaking out over that. And you're trying to explain it, and
yeah,
kind of like the cutting her finger off night.
Yep, that was great. I'll give a little recap of that one because that was super fun. So, for those who don't know, my wife is a nurse and works Baylor shift, which means she works the weekends and like one random day during the week. So I have the kids by myself. The kids are upstairs sleeping right now. So I usually just have the entire house to myself. And she got call one day, or she got out early or something. So she was going to be home, which is nice. Like, it's one of those things where there is, like, I have the monitor sitting right here where it's like, if anyone, like when I'm out back, like all our regular people who watch and I'm randomly doing this, it's because this monitor's old, it has no volume. So I have to check visually to see if the kids are crying, which takes away from me for the podcast in a way of just like, just want to be in it. So I was like, perfect. She'll be home. Like, she's like, have a good podcast. I'll make sure, like, if the kids wake up, I'll do it. It's great. I don't know, maybe we're half hour into the show.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It was about half hour.
It was about a half hour. And I get a text and I ignore it. I'm like, what? And then I turn and she's standing in the door to the back room here, just her head. And she goes, I need your help now. And I'm like, okay, everybody, I gotta go. Ended the podcast, came in. She tried to, and again, she is such an intelligent, she is one of the smartest people I know. I have to say this in the beginning because what she did was so stupid. For anyone who's ever eaten an avocado and prepared it themselves, you cut it out, spin it, so one side has the pit. Then if you do it right, you can take your knife and just go pop like this with the bottom of the knife and just twist it, thing pops right out. I've seen my wife do this. I've seen her do this. This time, though, she decided to go in this way to try to pop it out and went through it and sliced her finger. Now, it was good, like, it was a good bite. Like, it got her for sure. But I'm coming in from being pissed. I was originally pissed of like, what happened? Because she didn't explain anything to me, to, oh my God, I need to help you, to then getting it clean, doing everything like that, and then looking at it, and it's literally was just like a flap of skin, like a tiny little, like the first layer, where she's sitting with her head down, with her hand in the sink, going like, oh, we're gonna die, like dry heaving. And I look at him,
and Kyle's getting 1,000 messages on Telegram and see if she's okay.
Oh,
like, is she actually dying?
Freaking out. And I'm like, she's like, is it bad? I was like, I've cut tendons and been upset and been like less upset than this. Like, what are you, like, this is a Tuesday cut. Like that you get at 11 and you duct tape it and you go back to work. She's sitting there dry heaving. And I'm like, all right, we're good. And she, once she calmed down, she's like, I'm really sorry. I probably could have handled that. And I was like, probably. Oh, it's so freaking fun. And she still hasn't lived that one down. When avocados attack. Oh, that sounds like a shorts clip.
Yep.
But yeah, no, it was, it's interesting. Again, we're batting 1,000 with this podcast. We're trying, kids. We're trying.
Hey, we made it 2 weeks in a row. Had a little technical difficulty at the beginning, but made it through it.
If you listen to just the audio, I apologize because I just uploaded the last 2 weeks to all the podcast apps because I forgot to do that. Episode, not a whole podcast. Yeah.
Oh, man.
But yeah.
I'm not sure. I think either he's still here or he just left. The refrigeration guy was out there tinkering on stuff still.
Gotta love it.
He's honest. I'm super glad we found him. He's been freaking awesome. We were out here till 12:30 this morning. He was working on stuff. I was out here working on different stuff, and freezer's running. He got that up and running today. He was dialing in the cooler, so.
I didn't see this. I gotta pull it up. Canadian Farmstead. You butcher 100.
I was gonna pull it up, but I didn't.
Call you Kyle the Butcher? No, but you shag one pig. Pig fucker. All right, so hear me out for the rest of this. One of the best movies ever is The Gentleman. I don't know if you've ever seen that with Charlie Hunnam and Matthew McConaughey. Matthew McConaughey runs like the underground marijuana distribution in England, and he's trying to sell the business, and it's this whole big back and forth thing. And there's like this head of journalism, or like it's a newspaper or something, and it's the head guy, and he's got dirt on everybody. So Colin Farrell and his team of just parkour MMA fighters that he has running with him, because why not, kidnap the dude. And there's this full scene of him like waking up in a van, and like he has like a blanket on, and there's just Colin Farrell. Oh, hey, how's it going? And he like is like, you are basically going to forget everything that you have on this person, or this goes to the internet. He's like, whatever we gave you last night really loosened up your inhibitions. And you just see the van door open, and a guy hands 2 cups of coffee, and then he walks away, and you just see this massive Gloucester Old Spot sow. And it's like, oh no. And then he just goes, all right, well, press space bar when you're ready. And he just leaves the van, and he's talking outside, and all of a sudden you just hear screaming from the van with Old MacDonald Had a Farm in the background. And it's like, oh my God. I don't love the movie for that scene, but it is a fantastic scene in the movie. All right, well.
Now Aaron talking about sheep.
These people enough.
Remind me of a sheep joke. I'm going to have to, I don't know if I should tell it next week on the podcast or put it on as a TikTok video.
Definitely a TikTok video. Definitely a TikTok video.
I'm going to have to get some volunteers. Who's going to be guinea pigs?
Oh, wait, what are we doing? I just volunteered because I'm your friend. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it.
Do you want to be part of the joke is what I'm saying.
Oh, of course.
Oh, perfect. We got to find one more person.
Yeah. Oh, we can get Zach on it. Apparently, Zach is making a mannequin of me. He let that slip the other day. He was like, I was in Trash Supply. I was trying to find the hat that you always wear, and they didn't have it. I was like, why are you trying to find the hat I always wear? He goes, oh, I'm making a double of you. I'm like, this should be great.
Perfect. We're going to have to start a whole thing of sheep jokes now. Aaron said he's got a bunch of them.
Perfect. We'll get it going.
Stitch them onto each other.
Absolutely. Well, Joe, where can everyone find you?
Well, hopefully, if we stay consistent weekly here with Kyle on Meet the Critters podcast.
It's iffy, but hopefully.
Hey, we're doing good. We got 2 or 3 weeks in a row now. Yep. 2 weeks glitch free. So not technically free, but glitch free. We actually could have conversations. But yeah, so here every week. YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook at Blakesley Acres. You can find me in the Telegram group, Critter Crew, and my email is linked to most of my stuff. I'm not sure if I got it on TikTok or not yet, but if anybody wants to directly contact me, either TikTok or the email is probably the best way to do that at the moment.
Perfect. And as always, everybody, you can find me everywhere at Backwoods Butcher 603. So that is TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram, even though it's a wasteland that I never post on. I'm there. Follow me and I'll post more. I don't know. That's my feelings on Instagram at the moment. And I didn't mention it at all in the middle of this, so I'll mention it now. If you are in need of any chamber sealers, vacuum sealers, things like that, and any bags, they have a whole bunch of stuff. VacMasterFresh.com. If you go on there, buy all your Privac bags and things like that. Use promo code Backwoods, and it saves you 15% off on your order. So get after that, because there could possibly be a new chamber sealer in my future if you do that. I think it was Canadian Farmstead already bought some through them, so I appreciate that.
Get after it, everybody.
Get after it, kids. But yeah, we made the best we could out of it. So we were a little late, but we're here. Just like America, just like everyone's dad. We were a little late, but we got here.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, everybody. We appreciate you. We love you. Joe, another fantastic show.
Yep.
We'll see you next time.
Catch you guys later.